All right. We are back. Episode 2, episode 3. Goodness gracious, that first episode's catching me crazy.
Yeah.
Episode 3, Champ and the Chump. He is the champ. I am the chump. We are going to try to move fast. We're going to try to keep it short. I know we always say this, but we are actually going to try to keep it short because it is 10:45 and both of us have been at work all day.
Yep.
So week 1, 2-0 teams over here. I think this is the first time both of us can say that we were in the top half since we have started this podcast.
Yeah, I know that. We're feeling good coming on the podcast this week.
Hey, there's a reason why we're doing this podcast at 10:45. It's like we're 2-0. Like let's go. How did you feel about last week?
Well, my team played really well. I mean, I won the money, so I can't feel too bad. It's
very true.
I think my receivers are really good. I think that I got a good team, but I thought I had one solid running back in Eli Mitchell. He lasted a whole quarter and a half. Luckily, Cordell was great for me. I don't know if he can do that every week. I mean, he can't do that every week, but can he be solid enough every week? But I was a good week. I thought Jordan was good. I picked him to beat me, and to be fair, he was the second high scorer, even though he played me and lost. So I feel a little bad for him, but I had a good week. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I felt like with some of the things that had happened, like Keenan Allen going down after an incredible first quarter and a half, really left the door. And I left another 18 points to Jarvis Landry on the bench, and I still was like the 5th highest scorer. I mean, it's a big week, right? Like I put up 136 points with, Dawson Knox giving me 1, and AJ Green giving me 2, and my best receiver playing for 16 minutes, So all in all, the strategy worked, right? Like Josh Allen and Herbert, that floor is probably gonna be around 50 every week. You know what it is there. For me, it's gonna be can that rotation of RB2s and RB3s like hold on for my receivers to get healthy and unsuspended and all that. So I felt good. Left some money on the table. I wouldn't have caught you. I probably would have scored a little bit higher had I done some things differently. But at the end of the day, 2-0 is 2-0. So I can't be mad at it, right?
I think just look at the matchups, look at the teams. My number 1 on the power ranking preseason, Scotty Hurley pulled out a win. He was the 3rd highest score. So no first week power ranking jinx there for Hurley. Let's just make note of that. 2, I thought this was interesting. We talked last weekend about the strategy, right? You had 2 teams that basically punted quarterback, Wells and Jordan. Okay, Jordan is sitting 1-1, had the 2nd highest points.
Yep.
Wells is sitting 2-0, had the 3rd highest points. Yeah, 2 more points than Hurley. So he was the 3rd high point scorer. So the 2nd and 3rd high point scorer, the 2 guys who punted a quarterback. Do you think that is sustainable? Is that something we're going to be looking at? Or do you think that was, Carson Wentz had 30.
Yeah, Carson Wentz put up a 30 ball.
And Jones had 16, to be fair. And then you look at Wells's team, and, Jameis had that crazy 4th quarter, right? I mean, they were doing nothing. Ends up with 21 points. His number 2 is Baker, ends up with 18. I mean, if these guys are getting 40, 45 from their 2, what we would call bad quarterbacks, those 2 teams are scary. Can they do that consistently? What do you think? What do you think about those?
So Jameis ended up 23 for 34, 269, 2 touchdowns. We've seen Jameis do this, right? Like Jameis is a 4,000-yard passer in his career. Like we've seen this. The thing you worry about with Jameis is A, is he healthy coming off the injury? And B, can he do that and not turn the ball over? Like, so he had no turnovers last game. If Jameis is the Jameis we know, and that's 23 for 34 for 269, 2 touchdowns, but he throws those 2 Jameis picks that we know that are like the what the fuck, who are you looking at picks? And that 21 is 17, which is what he's projected for.
The other thing I think that's interesting is every one of those teams played from behind.
Yeah.
And maybe that's going to happen. Jameis is down 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter and goes crazy. Baker's down the whole game and ends up hitting Robbie Anderson for a 75-yard
75.
touchdown
I picked
pass.
him up.
Yeah. So, is that normal? I probably not. Then you got, Carson Wentz, who got down, worse got up, then made horrible mistakes to put him down.
Yeah.
Then came back, those 4 touchdowns, ends up throwing a 55-yard bomb to McLaurin, who you have. It's like you getting the 2 longest touchdown passes a day to these 2 guys.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, same thing. They were down 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. And not that he slung it, but again, you're talking about teams playing from behind. I feel like all those teams are the type that if I'm watching any of those guys play and they get up 14-3 in the first half, I'm like, fuck, I'm in trouble. Because I need volume from those guys. Those teams are not going to keep slinging it, right?
Right.
But it's interesting because their strategies week 1 have definitely paid off versus who paid up for 2 quarterbacks, right?
I did.
Dawsey at 95. You did, and it worked out well for you.
Yeah.
Dawsey snuck by beating a beaten down Chris Barnes team.
We need to change these median rules. If you don't score more than 100, you should get a point taken away. You should get no points if you don't score more than 100. This is unreal.
Man, I mean, Dawsey really snuck by the skin of his teeth. He's the second.
But here's the thing. So here's the thing, right?
Of the week.
Reese paid for quarterback. So here's the thing. Lamar Jackson was projected for 22 points. Well, he scored 20.
Yep.
Kyler Murray was projected for 22 points. Well, he also scored 20. So it's not like he missed. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't play as well as they probably should have, but they didn't play bad. The rest of his team
played like absolute shit.
You say what?
The rest of his team played like absolute shit.
Yeah, right. But it's not like
Higgins got hurt.
Quarterbacks did 90% of their job.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at, I'm going more based on your first point. I think Jordan and Wells may have found those guys whose teams aren't great and they need to pass for volume, right? I think Trevor Lawrence is another guy that may end up being one of those guys. Team's not great, but that quarterback is good enough to where if they're 2 scores down in the fourth quarter and they let him sling it a little bit, they can make some plays. I don't trust Wentz is going to get you 30. I'm not going to ever bank that Carson Wentz is going to be the 3rd highest scoring fantasy quarterback every week.
I would be able to put money on this is the highest week of his season. Anybody wants to take that bet, holler at me on the message.
Yeah, like that's probably and for Jordan's sake, I think that's what he's banking on is that Carson Wentz has those weeks every now and then.
Yeah.
And then you get that 145 or whatever you put up. I think Wells' quarterback has a better floor than Jordan's because we've seen Jameis do it. We've seen Baker do it. We talked about that last week, right? Yeah. Like, so them getting 40 is not nearly as big of a surprise as Carson Wentz putting up 30 on his own. Well, I agree. If those two can get 40 out of their quarterbacks, whereas me and Reese are looking to try to get 50 or 60 out of their quarterbacks to get the same volume, you know what I mean? And so not a bad strategy. Once again, I wouldn't have done it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but they're also 2-0, so I can't say that it was a bad decision.
Yeah, and Jordan actually lamented to me on messaging that
he's 1-1. Sorry.
Yeah, but he lamented to me that he hit his quarterbacks and had the good week, and he still didn't win his week, which he gets real pissy about that with the opponent's points against and everything. But the flip side, like we talked about, is can you win the league at the end of the day? Because we know there's going to be weeks where your quarterbacks are going to average combine for 64, and his quarterbacks are combined for 26. And that's the gap is when that happens, can you win? And the question is, can you win 3 straight weeks or two or 3 straight weeks in the playoffs when your quarterbacks are volatile? The good weeks, you do this. The bad weeks, can you do this on the bad weeks? And that's sort of the thing is the floor.
Here was the issue with Jordan's team. And the issue with Jordan's team, and we're nitpicking at this point because he put up 145, right? But you also put up 165 and got 4 points out of your starting running back who didn't play after the first quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, Christian McCaffrey had 13 points and he snuck in at 13 because he got the touchdown late.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, Juju looked like he was going to have a game and only came out with 9. Kyle Pitts, who we paid some money for, only came out with 3. And it's just like you're saying, you can't waste a 50-point day from your quarterbacks when your quarterbacks are Davis Mills and Carson Wentz. Like you're basically saying, like, if I get that day out of my quarterbacks, I got to win money.
Yeah.
Because everybody else has to do their job, and his best players outside of Mike Evans didn't do their job. You know what I mean? And that's basically what happened. He's also still sitting fine. I think the biggest surprise to me was Andy's teams. And I say that because I'm worried about Derrick Henry. And I worry about Derrick Henry because I worry about the Titans' offense.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're – I think that you've taken away the threat of A.J. Brown, and now everybody's just going to be like, well, I'm just going to stuff the box and play one-on-one on the outside. And Derrick Henry's
Robert Woods is their number one coming off an ACL tear, right? I mean, and Tannehill never exactly been a big-time accurate thrower. He's always played off the Derrick Henry play action.
Yeah, and I think he wasted a 30 ball from Jonathan Taylor. He wasted me getting 3 points between AJ Green and Dawson Knox, and Keenan Allen getting hurt on his way to what looked like it was going to be a 19-catch, 200-yard game or whatever Keenan Allen does, right? So, like, I think that's a week that may come back to hurt Andy because he not only lost a week, but he barely missed the points. And so let's segue this into how do you feel about the point system, right? Because I benefited from it, right? Like, I won the week and I snuck in and was maybe like a point above Tamaine. Like, me and Tamaine snuck in, and I'm watching Russell Wilson throw it to Jerry Jeudy on a 60-yard touchdown. Like, well, shit, I might have just lost out on 2 points right there, right?
Yeah.
Well, it ends up biting Andy because he scores 135 and gets nothing. So how do you feel about it?
So I think my initial reaction was positive. I think it did a couple of things. One, it solved the issue on the first week of you score the second most points with a bad matchup. That's just bad luck, right? It's not like like an actual game, like a basketball game where you got hot but they got hot. Like, you can't. That's not how it works. It's fantasy. You put a lineup out there, right? So I think it solved that problem. Jordan came away 1-1. He lost his matchup, but he had the second highest points. That's sort of the idea, is that you can't consistently score the most points and like lose your matchup every week and be not in the playoffs. But he got his one win, so I think it solved one problem. The second thing I think it did, and I'm not sure I anticipated this, honestly, was I thought it added excitement. I mean, we're watching Monday night. I'm not in the mix because I knew I had my 2 wins. My matchup was done. And I'm watching this thing going, oh, my God. You got Russell Wilson. He needs, if he get kicked next on one more touchdown pass, what if they go for it and he takes off running and gets a 12-yard pickup, right? Like, now we're holding her ball game. What if he hits Jeudy for a pass? Like, the excitement level knowing I'm chasing Brandon, but I'm also chasing Tamaine to steal that extra point. Like, I thought it kept us engaged a little bit more too. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, and like I said, like, I'm watching this game and I'm like, my initial thought is like, okay, Russ, don't kill me. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, but I need Jerry Jeudy to not kill me either. Like, Russ can beat me, but I can still, like, if Russ throws all these passes to Cortland Sutton, I can still get a point. And then I'm watching the game and I'm watching that pass and that touchdown, and I'm like, I'm about to go 0 for 2.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Reese did an incredible job in his mid-Monday mailbag, which is what I'm officially calling it, is the mid-Monday mailbag. Got to go with the alliteration, Reese. There it is. But he did a great job of breaking down all of the scenarios of people getting and losing points that I never really paid attention to until I read it. And then it was like, oh, shit, I might come out with nothing. Right. And it does give a little bit of intrigue. And to somebody like me, to where I didn't have any players, and now I'm watching my matchup and Tamaine's matchup, even watching like Mike's matchup too a little bit, just to see like who has a chance to sneak in there and try to grab a point, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be that guy that gets left out. Like, Andy missed it by 0.6 points.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Russ, right? If Russ makes a 5-yard out route and then another 10-yard pass to get him in better field goal range, Andy gets 2 points. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally that close. It's that close. And I think there will always be, no matter what the scoring system, there's always going to be a guy that's left out.
I mean, Andy lost by 0.6. I mean, we're talking about 15 yards.
0.6. Literally, it is they call a timeout, go for it on 4th and 5, call another timeout, go for it again, and put that dude in a 45-yard field goal range.
Well, yeah, if they call timeout at the very beginning, he's got a minute left. He throws an 8-yard pass. He throws a 6-yard pass. He throws a 9-yard pass. He's got it.
Stat for you.
Yeah.
In his career, Russell Wilson has a 57 or something like that % conversion rate on 4th and 5 or less. It's something wild like that. Okay. Here's the other part of the stat. Brandon McManus before Monday was 1 for 7 for field goals over 60 yards.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, the guy that you're giving $100 million guaranteed to is over 50% in converting from that yardage. And the guy that you're having kick it is a 19% chance or whatever that is, like 17.
We're just guys, right? We just play Madden and stuff, that's how we time manage. But if you watch that clip I sent today of Peyton Manning, so Peyton Manning is arguably the best at that sort of stuff, right? I mean, I trust what he thinks as much as anybody.
Yeah.
You got Eli, 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. You got Shannon
Sharp, who's
Sharp,
also had to manage some big time game winning jobs, right?
Yeah. You got Shannon Sharp, who's always been around the game forever, and they are literally freaking out about what is happening. I think I saw a thing that Peyton Manning called timeout like 68 times before timeout. I mean, it's like
he's literally
and then he says,
giving the thought process.
Yeah,
and then hands overhead, like, what are they doing?
And when he goes, oh, they're gonna kick it. Shannon Sharp goes, kick what? Because he was like, what? Like, those dudes are blown away by the decision. Yeah. And those are experts. We're just people who thought it was crazy. Those are the experts who are like, what are they doing in real time?
It's wild. Yeah, that's bad. Andy, that's tough. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry because you would have beat me. So I'm not sorry.
Tamane's the one who's really thanking him because Tamane's over here going, Nathaniel Hackett, that guy's a hell of a coach. He's just trying to win football games.
Right. So here's the thing. Realistically, Andy might not have beat me. 15 yards doesn't get you a 1.5, right?
Yeah.
But 15 yards gets you 0.4, and that's what he needed.
Yeah.
Realistically, in a minute, 3 timeouts, he might beat me because he might be able to sneak a touchdown in there.
And he might have taken off running. He might have scrambled for 8 yards.
And, he has a chance. He has a chance to beat me for sure. But he has a legitimate chance to beat Tamaine.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's 2 out routes for 15 yards with 12 seconds left on the clock. And now they kick the game-winning field goal, and he has 0.4 extra points.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's tough, Andy. It really is. But back to the thing is, like, no matter what the scoring is, there's always going to be that guy that's left out, right? It is what it is. I think the thought process is that over the course of the season, that guy gets left out less, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you saw it with Jordan, like that guy got left out less. And so I think it's going to be big. I'm interested to see now what happens if you or I or another one of these 2-0 teams gets another 2, but then everybody else gets a 1-1 or an 0-2 and like regress. You know what I mean? Like that's where it's going to really start to separate guys.
Yeah.
Because to go up 4-0, and then if everybody else is pushing back towards 2-2, that's where it gets really interesting, really fast.
I'm also interested to see how many times, like how many 1-1s we have, right? So this week we had 4 people win both, 4 2-0s. You had 4 people win one or the other. Is that kind of the standard, about 4 2-0s a week? Do we end up with 5 or 6? There are going to be weeks we get 5 or 6, and it's 5 or 6 2-0s, and everybody else is 0-2s. We have a 2-game jump for everybody. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to track just sort of like week to week, how many of these people are getting the extra win or the extra loss they would not have gotten previously, and how much that affects it. Because right now we have, 4 people 4 2-0s, 4 1-1s, 4 0-2s, so it's interesting.
Yeah. If those same 4 go 2-0, which I don't think they can because I think some of us are playing each other, but If two
I
or
play
three of those
Wells
guys
for
go
sure.
2-0, and then those like it'll cause a gap at some point. You know what I
also
mean?
have
If you
so
go 2 or
interest.
3 weeks in a row and you're getting 2-0 and 2-0 and 2-0, like
Yeah.
you're literally gonna.
And I'm looking at the schedule, just where we're going to next year. None of the 0-2 teams play each other. So that's where you start. The other way is where you get the other one, right?
Yes.
You go 0-4, then you go 1-1, then 0-2, and next thing you know, you're 1-7. And that starts feeling real scary when you get farther down that line.
Well, and then the thing is, too, if you start to go 0-4, that means your team's not winning and you're not playing well.
You're not finishing top half either. Yeah.
You're not even in the top half. Like, you're not scoring and you're not winning. So, like, I'm interested to see if people start to get desperate and start trying to make big moves, because once again, you're not getting either part of that. And so you clearly feel like I would, because I did last year at that point, but I waited 3, 4, 5 weeks. But you go 0-4, and I think my thought process would be I have to figure out how to get points. You know what I mean? Like, I have to figure out how to at least salvage these weeks. So I wonder if it makes some of these people a little bit more aggressive, which is, I mean, I love it because it gives us stuff to talk about on this stuff.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So we said we'd be quick. So let's go. We'll go over the week 1 recap. So we both said me. That's a win. We both said Jordan. That's a loss. We were actually all on everybody.
Yep.
Last week. We were not fun with our pick 'em last week.
We were not.
All said Jordan, lost that. All said Wells, won that. All said Barnes, goodness gracious, it didn't matter who we picked. Everybody should have got a loss. All said Hurley, won that. All said Scott Rogers, won that. Hey,
real quick, if Garrett starts Jackson Robinson over either Cam Akers is 0 or Mike Davis is 1, he wins the week.
Hey, it's unreal. Like, I'm watching Red Zone, and they're continuously showing James Robinson. And I can't help but to put, Garrett, there goes your touch. Ooh, my bad. Never mind. Like, I couldn't help myself because he got so defensive over the move.
I feel bad for him. I really don't think he. I don't know. I think he thought it was the right move.
Let's clarify. I do want to clarify this, right? Keenan Allen is hurt this week. He is not on the IR. Can I put him in the IR spot?
Once he goes
to out.
Once it goes to out, yes. And I will give Garrett some thing here. He had Gallup on the out spot.
Yeah.
The Cowboys then made him questionable. So when that happens, a bar comes up that says you have a guy in your IR spot, you have to move him.
Yeah.
And we probably should clarify this, and I'll throw some in the group message tomorrow. Because I think what Garrett felt like is he had to move him from the IR to his bench.
He wanted to pick up a player, but he felt like he had to move him immediately.
Because he thought he had to, because that's what the bar said. And that's why he dropped Robinson. He probably should have just left him in the out spot because we all knew Gallup was out.
Yeah.
It's just
they took him off. They took him off because they don't want him to sit 4 weeks. They don't know how long he's going to be out.
And the week 1 practice stuff, they just hadn't declared him out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he felt like he had to drop somebody. Now, he could have dropped a couple other guys, I feel like. I mean, he could have dropped, Alex Madison or
Sky Moore did not play. I think he only returned kicks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he made a good decision what he did. I mean, he has Mike Davis on his team. I mean, that's who knows what's going on there. Like, he had other options, I feel like, than what he did. I think he had other options. So that just is what it is, But
he still dropped the starting running back.
Yeah, so it's just it's unfortunate, but we probably need to clarify that, by game time you can't be in your IR. But what do you do? Like Gallup this week is back as questionable, but I still think he's going to be out. So I don't know. We got to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think what it is
something we haven't really talked about.
So we could talk Gallup, and I think his is they put him questionable so he can practice.
Yeah,
because they're trying to see. We know he's probably not playing this week.
Yeah.
But I think they have to put him questionable because he is participating in some practices.
Yeah.
Or some portion of practice. It's the same thing they did with Keenan Allen this week. He was questionable. There was no doubt Keenan Allen wasn't playing off a hamstring turnaround playing Thursday, right?
Yeah.
He didn't go out till the day.
Yeah.
there probably needs to be some kind of deadline, and I don't know if it is a
Like if he's
game time
out,
deadline or a Thursday first game deadline or what it is.
that's almost what it should be. Is more if you're out until they say you're not. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying more
with the deadline, and it may be Saturday, maybe it's Sunday. I don't know if Thursday is too early because nobody's practiced yet. Unless the Thursday teams. So maybe it's one of those things that, hey, if your guy's on the IR and he may be coming back this week, but you don't know, you can just leave him there. Although I think the issue, Brandon, is I don't think you can make moves with as long as there's a not an out guy in your IR. I don't think you can make moves. So I'm not sure there's anything you can do about it.
Yeah, so you might have to move him. You might. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
If you want to play that game with the guy who's questionable every week and unsure, you may just have to do it. Like I have Mitchell on my IR. He's on IR. He's out.
But he's out. They put him on the actual IR.
Yeah. So he's out. If you're going to play the week-to-week thing, you may just have to deal with it because I don't think it'll let you make moves down it.
Yeah, so like I couldn't even have put Keenan Allen in the IR spot until today because he was questionable.
Yeah. I think that's just I think this guys look at it as the IR is a new thing. If you benefit from it by having the IR and use some, great. If you can't use it because of the questionable stuff, that is what it is. I mean, I don't know how to fix that, honestly.
I agree with that. Well, Garrett, we tried to make sense of it. It was still not a good move. Anyway, both of us ended up 4-2. Let's go. We're gonna go week 2.
Let's go.
I'm obviously I'm at the top of mine. So me and Tamaine, what you got?
Woo. I think this is gonna be good.
Yeah, it's because neither one of us have a viable starting receiver right now.
Yeah,
that's not true. I got Scary Terry.
Yeah, you got Scary Terry. He's got Devontae Adams.
I'll take that matchup.
Try to look at what else you guys have. Man, Keenan Allen being out for you is a real killer.
Yeah.
I think his big 3, man. It was Swift, Chubb, and Adams is scary. And Chubb gets the Jets this week. He didn't score this week. I think they try to get him one. But, man, the Allen Herbert is just Herbert, if that game turns shootout tomorrow night and you got Herbert just slinging it.
I said this last week. I wanted all of Kansas City and Arizona. Arizona played like shit. But Kansas City did exactly what they needed to do.
Yep. And you're right back there with Edwards-Helaire and Mecole Hardman.
Hey, man, my boy Mecole, I'm on the bandwagon, baby.
Hey, man, he had a solid 9 last week with a touchdown, 3 catches.
Let's get it.
I just, man, this is a really tough one for me, honestly. It's a really tough one. I think Rodgers plays better. Devontae's so dang good. Guys, you have a ton of this Arizona-Las Vegas game, too. Carr and Adams versus James Conner. Landry versus Olave. Get the dual guys there.
Yeah, this is tough.
Gibson and Sanders both are kind of good, but they don't get enough touches. I'm picking you. I'm going with you.
I didn't like that.
I think that Allen and Herbert, I watched that Packers game, quite a bit of it. They're
bad.
Look real bad.
I watched a lot of Packers games, obviously, because my wife.
Yeah.
We left. Like, we legitimately left at halftime. And I said, hey, you want to know the score? She said, no. They're bad.
Yeah.
They are bad offensively.
Yep. I think Connor gets in the end zone. I think Allen and Herbert are the 2 high scorers in this matchup. I think Adams has a lot of points and really scares you all week. But I think that Dawson Knox gets a touchdown and scores 11
There's no
points.
way they only throw him the ball twice this time, right? They paid him a lot of money.
Exactly. And you're going to win by 4 off a Dawson Knox touchdown.
Monday
night comeback. Knox, Sanders, Josh Allen, all Monday night. Brandon Green, Monday night comeback.
Hey, I'm going me as well, and here's why. Yes, the Monday night matchup, I just think Josh Allen is a big time player. I think he likes the primetime matchups. I think he showed up in a game on Thursday night because he felt like that was his Super Bowl. I felt like he felt like if they got there, he wins. I think he took that personal. I think he shows up on a Monday night. I just think he's that kind of guy. I loved what Kansas City did. I think without Tyreek Hill and without having to force feed him, I think that offense is going to be very dynamic as far as that ball moving around. Man. And I think that's a great thing for Edwards-Helaire because he's great catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah. My neighbor is a Chiefs fan, so we do a lot of fence talking about the Chiefs. He's like flag out front, has a Chiefs tattoo. He's a fan. And we've been talking all summer/fall about the disrespect the Chiefs have gotten all offseason. You know, Mahomes went for the number one player in the league, like the 14th or 12th or something like that. A lot of disrespect being thrown around to the Chiefs right now, and I think they're here for it. I think the Chiefs are going to be really good this year. It's obviously stay healthy with Mahomes, but I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to spread it around like you say. I think they're going to put up a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, I look at these. I look at Josh Allen, I look at the Bills. They're going to score at will. Then I look at the Chiefs and Chargers game, and I have 3 players in it. I think my matchups are a little bit better. The Vegas-Arizona game does scare me because Arizona's defense was awful, and the car Devontae Adams scares me. I'm honestly not that scared of anything else on his team. And me saying that probably is going to make me lose, but I'm going to take me as well, just because of the potential high scoring that I have with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Bills. I got you, and I got Wells. I think you're the high projection of the week, huh?
Well, you know, after seeing last week, they like my team. What can I say?
Yeah, whatever. Speaking of Chiefs and Bills.
Yeah, go ahead.
First off, I think Stafford just absolutely fucks up Atlanta. I think that is a Super Bowl hangover game. They got punched in the mouth by probably the best team in football. And I think that's a hard game to play. It's the same thing with like senior nights, right? Like I hate senior nights. They're a hard game to play because there's so much emotion. People want to play well in front of their friends and their family, so they do shit that they're not used to doing. I hate them. Most ring banner ceremony games are very similar. It's why so many of them, like in the NBA, lose them on their home floor. I think that's what happened last week. The Bills are better, but I think the Rams played bad.
Yeah, I think both.
I love him. I mean, which means I have to love Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp destroys Atlanta. Cortland Sutton gets the Texans. I will never vouch for a Texan defensive back ever in my life. Yeah, I think it's you. I don't think Jameis at Tampa Bay is not a good look. Baker at the Giants may be serviceable. But I just think Mahomes and Stafford and Kupp are it's just hard to go against. So I'm going to take you on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to pick me too. I'm projected 15 points more. It's a lot. I know projections aren't worth shit, but I do think that my matchups are a little bit better. Amon-Ra gets the Redskins. AJ Brown's a stud. I get the Rams stack versus Atlanta. Obviously my running backs sort of suck. But I think David Montgomery versus Green Bay, I don't think he's going to go crazy. And when I say go crazy, I mean he had 6.5 last week, but he could have 14. But I know I'm speaking this into existence. So if you're a DFS guy, you should probably go play DraftKings and start David Montgomery this week. But I don't know if he's having 2022 to kill me.
No, for sure.
Aaron Jones can kill me.
I think Chicago's good defensively. I think they struggle to score, but I think they're so good. Like the reason they win that game last week,
they're gonna play low scoring.
They're so good defensively that Justin Fields only has to make 3 plays a game.
Yeah. I hate that he has Kelsey because anytime Mahomes' favorite target, obviously Kelsey. So I'm gonna be pulling for every red zone next week. Though it's literally anybody else.
Nicole.
Nicole, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whatever. Just
I'll take both.
Not Kelsey. So I like my matchups a little bit better. I'll take me.
Yeah. All right. We are at. I got Mike and Jordan. Jordan's projected up 11. I think this one is a little bit closer than projections, personally.
I'm gonna take. I'll go ahead and take it first. I'm gonna take Jordan here, mostly because I think it. Again, I'm looking at matchups. Fields is at Green Bay. I also think that's a low scoring game. He's got Kamara and Michael Thomas against Tampa. Look, I know we can have a whole podcast on the Cowboys if you want. I'll do it with you. We'll just go for 3 hours on the Cowboys. They look bad, but they look bad with Dak, with the first team group, because I think Tampa's defense is really, really good.
They're good.
And I think that's a piece of it. Now, do the Cowboys look bad? Absolutely. And they may not score a touchdown again, but I think Tampa's defense is legit. And having two guys against that defense, the Fields Komet stack at Green Bay, I don't like either one of those. He's got Metcalf with Geno throwing to him at San Francisco. So that's not a great matchup. He's got Edmonds at Baltimore. That's not a great matchup. I mean, where on this list do I see a guy who's going to exceed his expectation and really go off? Well, obviously
Jefferson might have 90.
Yeah, the Cousins-Jefferson matchup would have to carry him. Or if Melvin Gordon falls in the end zone twice against Houston, that's possible.
Hey, I will say I thought Melvin looked good. He can fall in the end zone twice against Houston.
I think that's an underrated draft pick by Mike getting Melvin Gordon. Because I think he thought, as I thought, that Dobbins would be ready to go. And Dobbins is clearly not. But he grabbed Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. And I like Kamara and I like Edmonds. I just don't like their matchups. I don't know if their ceiling is in play this week compared to what we would normally see, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think the Panthers have to get McCaffrey going. Evans is clearly number one in New Orleans. I do think New Orleans defense is good too. But you got Juju in the Thursday night game. You got Cooks as the clear number one there. I think that Mario tries to get Pitts going again. Wins in Detroit, Jones versus Carolina. Those are, again, decent matchups for those guys. I like George's matchups better. I'm taking Jordan.
Yeah, I want to take Mike really bad because I think I agree about Kamara. I agree about Michael Thomas. Tampa Bay is just good. Justin Jefferson could have 30.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
And I think Melvin Gordon could have 25. So I think he has, which means Kirk Cousins probably has 25. So there's a pathway for Mike to win.
Sure.
Because I agree, Jordan probably has better all-around matchups. Mike's good matchups, I think, are explosively good. And I think I will say this: I don't think Philly's defense is necessarily that bad. I think they score very easy. And so I think their defense is on the field a lot, which will give Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson a chance to play, especially if they're playing behind.
That game has a chance to blow up.
Philly's good offensively. A.J. Brown was like the missing piece of what is now a really good offense. So there is some blow-up spots. I want to take Mike. My heart says take Mike because I see it. My head says take Jordan. So I'm going to take Jordan. But this is one that, if Mike wins, it's probably because Jefferson goes off and Cousins goes off and Melvin Gordon gets in the end zone twice.
And you're going to be kicking yourself next week.
And I'm going to be kicking myself because I'm going to lose that matchup. Yeah, 100%. Next, I have Reese and Jeezy. This might be the most points I've ever seen Jeezy projected for. This is unreal.
Yeah.
Reese, your team is bad. Why is your team so bad?
Man. Is Higgins I don't think Higgins and Godwin are even going to play.
Yeah, it's because he's got Godwin in there. Yeah.
But who's he put in instead? Zay Jones, Parker, Claypool. I guess those guys are all okay. Honestly, I hate that he has Jeff Wilson because I wanted Jeff Wilson now that I lost Eli Mitchell.
Yeah, I don't know
Man,
who.
it is week 2, Brandon, and we got sexy Rex Burkhead, we got Jeff Wilson, we got injured
Hey,
Alan
this is
Lazard.
wild.
This is getting fun early.
This is wild. We're literally gonna have Rex Burkhead going against fucking double tight ends over here.
All right. Oh my goodness.
You got it, bro. I don't know what I think I'm gonna flip a coin.
I know what the projections
Okay,
say.
so Reese has a 0 right here. So if Reese, literally the projections would be even if Reese put in Claypool.
Correct. They would be exactly even.
That's because one's gonna play double tight ends and one is gonna play Rex Burkhead. Not even just Rex Burkhead against Denver.
You know, Saquon looked really good last week.
Saquon's good. I think Saquon's good, and I think the Giants' new offense like benefits.
Is Lazard gonna play?
Is who?
Alan Lazard.
Bro, does it matter?
I think he is the number 1 receiver in Green Bay.
What does that mean? Who cares?
I think he scored 10 points. He got one from his flex last week.
Their offensive line is bad too. Like Green Bay's offense is bad. Outside of their quarterback, outside of their backfield, their offense is bad. Like every other position.
Yeah.
But you said he got 1 point out of this place.
Well, we are feeling stumped here, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll come back to that. That's
All right.
Pass. I'm at Hurley and Andy.
Yeah, so I'm riding the train, man. I'm riding Scotty Hurley. I like his team. He was my number 1 power ranking. There is no way Joe Burrow turns it over 5 times again. Mixon's got a great matchup. You saw what Fournette did to us. Eckler Thursday night. That's an explosive game.
Yeah.
I like his team, and honestly, I think Dalton Schultz with Cooper Rush will be just fine. Those backup quarterback guys, they tend to dump off. Find their tight ends a lot more. I think he's just fine. Lawrence kind of sucks, but so does Davis Mills. It's just that when we talked about with Andy, he's so studs and duds. I think he gets better as the season goes on, as he finds if he'll hit some waiver wire guys. Honestly, I sort of wish he'd make a change. If I was set his lineup, I'd probably play Josh Palmer.
I'd put Josh Palmer in instead of Jacoby Myers for sure.
Yeah, I'd say for sure there.
I would for sure rock with Tyler Boyd because, like you said, I don't think T. Higgins plays.
Yeah,
I think the hole right there is Jacoby Myers, and I'm going based on the fact that Keenan Allen's not playing, and so Josh Palmer ends up being the number 2 automatically.
Yeah,
that's where I would go.
So I'm gonna take Hurley. I think Hurley's maybe the only guy in the league, running back wise, that can match up with Andy. I mean, Eckler, Mixon can score with Taylor Henry, and I like the rest of Hurley's team a little bit better. I like Kirk. I like Bateman better. I like Schultz better than him. I like Thielen. I think that Monday night game we already talked about, it's a blow up spot in that Minnesota game. I think Thielen. I think people start to move more coverage to Jefferson. And I'm not saying Jefferson's not going to still have 20, but I think Thielen's going to be involved there, continued. I'm going to take Hurley. But I do think it's an 8-point gap right now. I think this is more even than that.
I'm going to take Hurley, and there's only one reason why, because I actually really like Andy's team. I thought he had a very good chance to beat me last week. Derrick Henry at Buffalo. I think Buffalo's defense is the best defense in football. And that is a killer to Andy winning this week because Andy is so dependent on Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry carrying his team.
My problem with Henry this year, and look, in my other auction league, which only 1 quarterback, but Henry went for $64. McCaffrey went for like $64 or $65, like same, right? So I'm not saying Andy's crazy for bidding high on Henry. He's a stud. But my concern, just personally, is I think they're not as good. And the stats when Tennessee wins, he averages like 24 fantasy points a week or something stupid. But when they lose, it's like 7. Like he goes to be like running back 2 to running back like 29 based on wins and losses because he's not a PPR back. And we're not a PPR league. We're half point. So, it's okay. But if they're losing a lot, if they get down to Buffalo 21-3 in the first half, like where does he get his points?
Hilliard played a lot last week too.
Yeah, you're hoping that he gets a touchdown, which obviously he can do, and that he rumbles for a big gain or something, but he's not getting the 26, 147, 2 touchdown games in big losses. He's just
the issue is for me, his output could look a lot like it did last week, which was 21 for 82, which is almost 4 yards a carry, which isn't terrible in real life football, but it doesn't help you in fantasy. And Buffalo is going to put 8 in a box, and they're going to play straight up man to man and make Tannehill beat them because Buffalo can.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. Like that's just the spot. Like Andy needs 20 plus from Derrick Henry. He needs to get the same way I need to push probably 50 to 60 from my quarterbacks. Andy needs to push 40 to 50 from his running backs. And I don't see that pathway now. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor has Jacksonville, and it may save him. And combined, they may get to that 40, 45 range. But I think Austin Eckler and Jonathan Taylor may cancel each other out because, like we said, there's no Keenan Allen. So who becomes the big possession guy? Well, it's probably Eckler.
Yeah, like when I play Andy,
when Keenan Allen hasn't been hurt, when hasn't been out there.
When I play Andy, there's a legitimate pathway for him to outscore my running backs with his 2 running backs by 40. And I'm not really exaggerating. He could have 50, and I could have 10 with my 2 running backs. Like that's the advantage you're looking for with the way he built his team.
But this advantage this
Hurley can match him.
It's 10. Yeah, it's 10 max.
Yeah, Hurley can match him.
And with that matchup in Buffalo, it's probably closer even, like you're saying.
Pittman can match Debo, and now you're looking at the other guys, and I like his other guys better. This week, anyways.
I agree. I think that what hurts is that Indy Jacksonville could end up being like Jacksonville playing down 20, which means Christian Kirk gets peppered. It's just a bad matchup for Andy this week. It really is more so than I dislike.
We're pulling for you top 6 though, Andy.
You need one, bro. That hurt. I hurt for you a little bit, not a whole lot, because like I said, you would have had to beat me, but I did feel that Tamaine kind of like slid in there. Just tell Russ to throw to Cortland Sutherland, and none of that happens, Andy. That's your fault. Tell your quarterback to do his job. All right, next we got Barnes and Scott Rogers.
So first thing I have to say about this
is such a big God dang it, Scott.
I'm disappointed in Scott because I really wanted to come on here and talk about how Cooper Rush was a starting quarterback in week 2 and how important quarterbacks were in this league. And instead he picked up Jacoby Brissett instead of Cooper Rush.
Good pickup.
So I'm a little disappointed that Cooper Rush isn't starting this week, but we live on. So
good pickup.
It's Barnes. I'm giving you at least one more week. Okay. We had a bad week. We've seen this before from Barnes's team last year. Sexy, not really productive. A lot of talk, not a lot of the show for the talk. But I think that they get Allen Robinson involved. How can the Chargers not go to Kansas City and go, hey, Allen's out. We got to get Mike Williams the ball.
Yeah.
How can they not? Javonte Williams against Houston. Now, obviously, if he's scoring 2, the Melvin Gordon 2 maybe out the window for Mike.
Which one is getting 2? Because somebody's getting 2.
Somebody's getting 2. Jalen Hurts, we already talked about the Monday night game. Andrews is still the number 1 there. He's starting Henderson this week, who was the clear number 1 back in the Rams game. There's a reason it's a pretty 20-plus point difference here. I mean, I think I'm not saying it's not a way for Scott Rogers, but again, like, can Hill and Waddle both get there versus Baltimore? Does DuVernay? I mean,
dueling Miami receivers is still wild to me.
Does DuVernay get there again? He's playing the Baltimore D versus the Miami receiver. So somebody's hurt
Why
me.
is there so much of this Baltimore-Miami game with Scott?
He's got half the dang Baltimore Miami team on his. And what's funny is Andrews probably leads the whole group. He's on the other team.
This is wild, Scott. What are you doing?
He needs Kittle back.
Yeah, right. This is Barnes, I'm with you too, bro. That was bad. I don't need to pile on it. You admitted that it was bad. So we'll leave it at that. This is the week for redemption, Barnes. I actually
your
think
team shits the bed and scores 92 again, though. We're jumping off the Barnes.
Yeah, if it's 92 again, bro, I might not pick you again the rest of the year. I actually think this is a get right spot for Barnes. I think this is a good 2-0 spot for Barnes. We've talked about the Philly Minnesota game and how that could blow up. And he has hurts. We've talked about the Chargers Kansas City game and how that could blow up, and he's got Mike Williams. Matt Ryan against Jacksonville might throw 3 touchdowns in the first half before he chills the rest of the day. I said I thought the Rams were bad the other night, but I do not think they're a bad team. I think Atlanta's not good though. So I think Allen Robinson, I think this is a spot. This is a blow up spot for Barnes. And I think this is a get right. And he could go from 0-2 and the least amount of points in the league to 2-2 by getting in the top half and getting a win here. So I think I'm going all in on Barnes being 500 by the end of this week.
You know what I'm curious about is if Garrett and Scott discussed our trade we made with them last week for Tua.
That was a great trade.
I agree. I'm curious as to whether or not that's discussion said, hey, should we talk about Tua here? Because I'm looking at this.
It's an even better trade with how Tua played last week.
Yeah, and look at Barnes, and now Scott Rogers lost Dak. He just needs to go all in on the Miami offense.
Even better trade because he lost Dak.
Yeah,
Scott, man. I don't think Scott listens to the podcast, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure he does.
Trade for Tua, Scott. I had to bet on one person who did not listen to this podcast. It would be Scott.
Trade for Tua.
Trade for Tua, bro. All right, we got one more game we got to go back to. Oh, my gosh. This is so bad. Bad thing is, it's really not that bad. They're both projected for 126 if Reese puts in somebody in the starting lineup. So it's not that bad, but why is it is bad?
They each have question marks. They both have injury concerns early in the week that we're not sure if they're going to play. They're both, already to some backup level guys, Burkhead and Jeff Wilson. And, Jeff Wilson, I like Jeff Wilson. I wish I had him with Mitchell being out. But, last week with Mitchell, you know what the worst thing is when you're watching the game and you see a handoff and you go, oh, is that my guy? And the announcer goes, and they've got Mitchell lead blocking out in front of Debo. Why is my running back lead blocking?
Bro, I have Miles Sanders. I watched every person in the Eagles backfield get a touchdown.
Literally every person.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
I understand. All right, I have a decision. I'm confident on this.
All right, go.
It's Reese, and here's why. We said it at the beginning of the podcast. The floor. Jackson didn't play great. Kyler didn't play great. He still got 40 out of his quarterbacks. I don't think Trey Lance is good at football.
I agree.
And I think Seattle is still pretty good. I think Pete Carroll has coached them well. Now, how much of that is playing Russ? How much of that is they are actually pretty good? Who knows? I don't think Trey Lance is very good. I do think Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are very good. So I'm going to go Reese because I think this is a very even matchup, and I'm taking the floor of what Lamar and Kyler are going to give over the floor of what Brady and Lance are going to give. That's where I'm going.
The thing is, looking at Rex Burkhead, and everybody's all excited about how good he was last week. He only got 9
still points. The Texans.
He got 9 points. I'm going to be contrarian here. We got to pick different once in a while. I'm riding with you, Garrett. Let's get Saquon. Let's get Diggs. Let's get Lazard back. Let's get Garrett a win.
I might refuse to pick Garrett for the rest of the year because he dropped a starting running back 3 days before the first game.
Hey,
that's not true, Garrett. I'll probably pick you when we play each other because I've talked so much shit. There's no way you don't bust my ass when we match up.
At any point today, when your phone flashed, Jeezy made a move. Did you go, ooh, and click it real quick just to make sure you didn't drop somebody?
Hey, I was like really expecting it to be who knows who, like Saquon or something. Like I don't know. Like I was like, well, he just dropping starters. Like maybe I'll sneak one. I need a receiver. Maybe like Amari Cooper's available or something. Like, I don't know.
I'm pulling for you this week, G.
All right, G. I'm not, but when we play each other, I got you. I'll for sure pick you because there's no single way. All right. Fairly short episode, short for us at least. He's the champ. I'm the chump. Well, I'll let you next time.